Building is going to be a big part of your life in Dune Awakening. You'll need shelter from the worm, the beating sun and the sandstorms, and most importantly you'll need space for your vehicles' workstations. Today we are talking all about building from the early creator and press beta I was part of, which represents roughly the first 20 to 25 hours of the early to mid-game experience. Also, quick shameless self-promo, consider checking out my content over on Patreon where you can get videos early, or just join for free to see video previews and progress logs for the upcoming Settlers Season 4. Plug over, let's talk architecture. Firstly, the basics. All building in Dune is done through the construction tool, a little gadget you'll craft in the very early stages of the game. This allows you to open up the building menu, place down pieces, and all the other expected functions. You'll be able to cycle through all the menus and submenus in the construction tool. This UI admittedly can be a little confusing at first, but becomes quite simple and easy to use after a little bit of practice. Here you can find building pieces, decorations, crafting stations, and so on. To set up a base, you firstly establish a sub-fief console, which is basically a land claim token. You can see the bounding box of your land claim when you're positioning it, which gives a clear indication of your build zone. You can then move the sub-fief around in the land claim after it's placed without actually moving the zone itself. So if you've accidentally put your sub-fief in a pretty awkward position, it's not stuck there forever. There's also an advanced sub-fief console a little later into the game, offering a bigger living space, though it does seemingly require you to pay the dreaded tax. Taxation was disabled in this beta, so I can't really say much about how that tax works. The regular sub-fief consoles do not have a tax though. The actual act of building itself is quite simple, it's not overly complicated at all, and you'll definitely need to build to protect yourself from the sun, the worms, sandstorms, enemies, Sardaukar patrols, and much more, alongside having a safe place where you can access all of your amenities. So let's look at the actual building mechanics. The foundations of building, no pun intended, are really simple. Throw down a sub-fief, build your floor, walls, roof, and you're pretty much safe from the elements. However, it's not guaranteed safety forever. There are three core mechanics you'll need to bear in mind. Firstly, don't build on the open sand. Stick to the rock islands, else if you try to slap down a base in the middle of the sand, you will be worm food. Don't do it. Secondly, all bases need power. One of the first things you'll learn to create is a fuel-powered generator, which you will fill with fuel cells you can harvest pretty much anywhere on the map. They'll keep your base shield active and power your machines. Thirdly, abandonment. If you check your sub-fief console, you'll see how much power you have in your base, alongside any tax you owe, but in the early game, tax isn't really a factor. If your power runs out, or presumably if you don't pay your tax, your base will lose its shield. That will mean your base can be damaged by the sandstorms, which will quickly erode your base and destroy whatever's inside if you leave it for too long. If your base is abandoned, other players can come in and pilfer your loot or even claim the base as their own. Those three main conditions, honestly, felt pretty common sense. Don't build in worm territory, keep your base powered, and don't abandon your base if you want to keep it. Easy enough and pretty self-explanatory. Additionally, there is a hard limit of how many bases you can have. You can have 3 separate bases with the advanced sub-fief console and 2 with the regular. However, those limits are partially shared, meaning you could have 2 regular and an advanced, 2 advanced and a regular, or just 3 advanced. The upper limit is 3 bases across the overland map. There's also the stability system, or surprisingly a lack thereof. If you've played any number of survival games, you'll know that you can't just build stuff without support, but Dune is quite forgiving in that aspect. From a stability source like a foundation, you can pretty much build out to your heart's content, which is a very convenient decision. Stability is very forgiving, which will likely make the new player experience much smoother, and I think it's a nice concession given that you are quite limited in space with the regular and, to a degree, even the advanced sub-fief console. If your base does end up damaged, you can repair pieces through the construction tool and also just check on building piece health with the same utility. You're also able to move placeables around, pick pieces to quickly jump to them in the menus, and of course demolish pieces too. You also get a full refund for demolishing seemingly anything, which is a nice quality of life option. More on quality of life later on. In terms of material sets, in the beta we had access to 2, Chome Shelter and Chome Facility. These seem to be sort of tier 1 and tier 2, not an endgame material but the first and second level of building sets you can use. Based on some of the trailers that have released thus far, it seems that later on in the game we'll get access to Harkonnen and Atreides themed material packs, though we weren't able to use them in the beta. There's also the Caladan Palace building set confirmed to be included in the Ultimate Edition of the game. There's no word on if Dune will get additional post-launch building sets, but I'd say it is a realistic possibility. You can swap through the different material sets you have access to through the construction tool, and their cost does seem to scale with their strength. For example, a Chome Shelter wall costs 8 granite stone, whereas a Chome Facility wall costs 10. Chome Facility has slightly more health than Chome Shelter, so that likely dictates the difference. Alongside the material sets, there's also decorations and workstations. Workstations are fairly self-explanatory. The things you learn in the research menu, like the ore refinery, storage chests, blood purifiers and so on, can be built straight from the building hammer when you've learned the recipe, and if you have the resources. In terms of decoration, I actually had none available when I started the game. However, I visited some of the trade posts and I was able to buy recipes to create decorations. The two I picked up, Chome Bedroom and Chome Office, offered some nice neutral decorations, and I don't doubt there will probably be even more deco sets coming from other trade posts or maybe even side quests or some of the factions. You also have lighting options too. These were fairly nice, and the construction tool gives you a live preview of the light they output, which helps a lot with lighting design. Moving on to the quality of life features, there are a fair few. As already mentioned, stability is very forgiving for building, and you're able to move, repair and demolish things straight from the construction hammer. That full refund on demolition is also really nice. Something you're also taught early on in the game is that you can actually abandon a base from a distance. From my understanding, this will essentially power down and deactivate your base. This means another player could come along and claim your base, and if you've left any loot there, they could have that loot. But importantly, it will also deactivate the shield, and the sandstorm will quickly erode your base away, freeing that spot up for another player. When you're placing a sub-fief console, we already know you can see the bounds of your land claim, but you can also see the bounds of no-build areas nearby, which helps a lot with knowing what's around your base, and if you're scouting for a base location, you can just hold the sub-fief console out so you know roughly where to build and roughly where will not be so great. In the sub-fief menu, you get a breakdown of all your construction allowances. The limited plot you have does also have limits on what you can build, namely in this case 2500 building pieces, 40 production stations, 75 storage items, etc. I'm not sure if this can be increased by any means in the future. You can also see taxation on an advanced sub-fief. For example, here it tells me that I'll load 2000 Solari coin per cycle. I can also top up my generators, see my total power time, owed taxes, storm alerts and more. I can also check power consumption here, so the sub-fief requires 15 power and I have 75 power generated, matching the 75 needed by the base as a whole. Now if I built something else that required power, I'd go over my power production and that would shut everything down until I increase power with another generator, which makes it very easy to diagnose power issues through the sub-fief. Another great quality of life feature that I know a lot of people will be happy to hear is building from chests. So long as you're in your land claim, your construction tool will pull resources directly from storage. You don't need to carry everything on your person. It's a really great feature to have. There's also the hologram mode where you can plan out your builds in holograms and then fill them in with the resources when you have them. This is great for trying out different building techniques before committing resources to them and cuts down on a lot of the tedious trial and error. Finally, let's say you have a base design you really like but you also really need to move elsewhere. Well, you can move your base itself with the Solido Replicator, basically a blueprint tool that will create a hologram of your base for you to place elsewhere. This is really easy to use and it has really nice and intuitive controls. You can also rename the tools so you know what's in each tool if you have multiple copies, and I think the devs have mentioned you'll be able to give these to other players or even sell them. This is an incredible quality of life option. I really enjoy it. My final point, what about recreational building? If you're coming from Conan Exiles, building for fun or for aesthetics is a big thing there, as it is in multiple survival games, but will it be the same in Dune? In my opinion, I don't think it will be the same, at least not yet. There's no telling how the building community will evolve and adapt to the game, especially with any late game or post-launch material sets that are added. There will certainly be room for people to build aesthetically pleasing bases, but you'll also have to balance that against the needs of your production and resource storage, alongside, of course, base maintenance itself too. On paper, that sounds like it will lend itself to just build a box and fill it in, but in the beta I did see a lot of people go with loads of different designs, so the building in-game is certainly not as vanilla as it may seem on paper because of those restrictions I mentioned earlier. However, it will likely be a little less flexible for people that want to build for aesthetics primarily. I think building totally non-functional things like monuments will probably not be that popular, but then again, builders are resourceful people, they can make almost anything work, so I wouldn't be surprised there are still people out there that manage to build stunning bases that not only look great, but can accommodate everything you need to survive. As for my overall thoughts on the building system in Dune Awakening, I'm quite happy with it. It's familiar but not too similar to building systems in games like Conan, Valheim and Shrouded, etc. It's reasonably fast to build with, you won't be trying to handle really fine detail pieces all the time, but there is a low, steady learning curve, and the system has a lot of really welcome quality of life additions. Being able to copy and paste your base or lay out holograms ahead of time is probably one of its best features, but also the really relaxed approach to stability will certainly help to onboard new builders too. Overall, again, I'm fairly impressed. It's a little different from the rest, but keeps a solid core that I think builders will likely enjoy. Though I'm not sure if recreational building will be as popular in Dune, I think there will certainly be a subset of the player base that strive to make aesthetically pleasing builds that also take full advantage of the space inside. I've already seen quite a few on the creator beta, and I'm looking forward to seeing what everyone else creates when the game launches. That being said, don't forget that Dune Awakening has been delayed by a little bit. It's now releasing on June 10th, 2025, with the pre-order head start bonus beginning on June 5th. There's also a beta weekend coming on May 9th. I'm doing a giveaway for some beta keys in my Discord server. Join through the link in the description and react with the key emoji on the message in the giveaways channel for a chance to win. I'll be drawing the winners on May 1st, so not too long to go. I'll also be covering Dune when it launches alongside my usual Conan Exiles coverage, so make sure you subscribe to experience the best of both Arrakis and Hyboria. Thanks for watching, and a massive thanks to our wonderful esteemed coffee cultists for continuing to support the channel over on Patreon. If you want to support the channel here on YouTube and get some exclusive perks, take a look at the new channel memberships available by clicking join just below this video. Take care, and I'll see you soon.